Hi guys, we started today's class by going over questions 7 and 8 from Unit 1. Okay, so if we forgot where to find that, it is under our classwork in Google Classroom. If you go to Unit 1 Test Overview, right, click on that, click on View Assignment, okay, and then click on yours. So that way it can make updates to your own personal one, okay? So we're going to go over question number 7 and 8 if you want to go ahead and get that ready. Okay. Okay, today's class is a Pear Deck session. So if you go to classwork under week 8, if you click on this one here, 10.5, slope from a graph Pear Deck, click on this one to join. It'll take you to our first slide, which is problem 7. Okay, so we're going to start here. We're going to split up our problem, right? Okay, so once we split up our problem, we look to the left side and see if there's anything for me to simplify, right? So I know that on this left-hand side, I can distribute this -3, right? I'm going to multiply it by 2x. I'm going to multiply it by a -4. Okay, so if I take that -3 and multiply it by a 2x, I'll get a -6x. So let me see, let me rewrite 8x minus 6x plus 12, because a -3 times a -4 gives me a +12, equals, okay, on the right hand side I can distribute, right, this 3, multiply it by x, and then multiply it by -6. Okay, so I get a 3x minus 18. Okay, I'm still not ready to start moving stuff, opposite operation, right? I'm going to combine this side right here first. So 8 minus 6 gives me a +2x plus 12 equals, I'm just bringing down what I have, right? 3x, because I haven't done anything to it. Okay, so 2x, so minus 2x right here. Minus 2x on this side. This simplifies to be 0 over here. So I'm left with 12 is equal to 3x minus 2x gives me a 1x minus 18. Okay, let me see if it lets me square it. Okay, so I want to move this minus 18. I'm going to do plus 18 on both sides. So plus, okay, why is it not working? Plus 18, because I'm doing opposite, right? Plus 18. It simplifies on this side to be 0, so I'm left with 1x equals to 30. Okay, if I divide by 1 on both sides, I get x equals 30. Okay, so our answer is C. Go ahead and make the correction on your Unit 1 overview. This next problem is a multi-step problem. Okay, so what I would do first on my picture is I would recognize that I have a rectangle, and I would make my opposite sides be the same length. Okay, so then this one I'm going to take it over here, and I'm just going to write it, set up my picture, right? 3x plus 2. Okay, so further reading, it says x represents the width. So if you want to, let's put a W right here so we know that x is talking about our width, right? And 3x plus 2 represents the length. So let's go ahead and just put that in parentheses. So x is my width, 3x plus 2 is the length, right? Okay, so then it goes on to tell you that 4x plus 72 encloses the whole garden. So that means all the way around. That is the perimeter, okay? So in order to find perimeter, we have to add all of the sides, and it should equal to 4x plus 72 because I already know that's my total. They told me it takes this much fence to go all the way around, right? Okay, so in order to get your perimeter of this image right here, we have to add the sides of my rectangle, all sides, right? So I'm going to take my 3x plus 2, and all I'm doing scratch work over here on the side. So that way y'all can see what we're doing, right? How I'm lining them up and making things easier for myself. And I have an x and an x. So x, x. Okay, so if I add all my x's, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 x's, right? Because I look at the number that's in front. Plus 2 plus 2 is just 4. So I'm going to take this, what I added, right? So 8x plus 4 is equal to 4x plus 72. Okay, so now I have a regular solving equations problem, right? So I'm going to split up my problem. Okay, I'm going to start rearranging because I don't have anything that I need to simplify, right? So I'm going to do minus 4x on both sides. Okay, that simplifies to 0. So I'm left with 4x over here plus 4 is equal to 72. Okay, then I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. Subtract 4, sorry guys, minus 4. Okay, so 4x is equal to 68. Okay, I'm dividing by 4 on both sides. So x is equal to 17. Okay, but, right, remember x was the width. Your question is asking what is the length, right? The length tells me so far that 3x plus 2 is the length, right? Because we know what x is now, we can plug in the value that we worked out, right? So we can say 3 times 17 plus 2 will give me the length of that side. So 17 times 3 gives me a 51 plus 2 is 53. So the correct answer for this one is F. Okay, the next thing we did was get our journals, and we added some notes in there about slope guy and what each of the types of slope look like on a graph. Okay, so we're going to talk about positive, negative, zero, and undefined. So if you would pause and get your journal, that would be great, and then we can move on. Okay, so today's title is Slope from Graph. Okay, put today's date, 10/5. Okay, if you draw a big circle, that is slope guy, right? Mr. Slope Guy. Mr. Slope Guy. Okay, and he tells us, right, the 4 different types of slope. So one of his eyebrows is pointing up, that is the plus line. His other eyebrow is going down, that is the minus line. 0, his mouth is side to side and it has 2 dimples on each side. It has zeros, right? Those dimples are zeros because that tells us it's 0 slope. And then his nose is straight up and down, and the U shape forms the tip of his nose, right? So if we're going to label these, plus is positive, minus negative, the dimple is 0, right, for his mouth, and then the U is the undefined for his nose, straight up and down. Okay, so then if you would, draw yourself 4 different graphs, and we're going to see what each of these lines would look like on an actual coordinate plane. Okay, so let's get them ready. So these are automatics here. We should be labeling our X and our Y axis, right? And I forgot that in class, but X and Y, X and Y, X and Y. An additional thing that I would like you to draw on the graph is a minus and a plus sign. Negative is on the left, positive is on the right. Negative, positive, negative, positive. Anytime you have a picture of a graph, this is what I want you to do. Put a negative sign and a positive sign, okay? It helps us identify the type of slope that we're given, okay? So if my line starts at the bottom, as I move to the right, it is increasing. It is pointing to the plus sign, so this is what a positive line would look like, okay? Opposite, if it starts here in the negative zone and it's going down as I move to the right, this would be a negative line. The zero slope is a line that is straight across. That is zero slope. I'm going to draw one in the positive section, one in the negative section, just so you can see that it does not matter where it's at. If your line is straight across, your slope is zero. Okay? For the undefined, right, if that line is straight up and down, no matter where it is at, your slope is undefined. Okay? Okay, so we're here back on the pear deck. We are on slide 4. Okay, we're going to do an example of how to find slope from a graph using the slope formula. And then we're going to do the same problem, but now we're going to use rise over run. Okay, so either way you choose, you still have to find 2 good points. Okay, so good points are where the lines, the grid lines, are making a perfect T, right? Where my blue line is crossing right through the middle of those lines. So I would pick right here, negative 2, 3 is a good point. And then negative 2, 3, so we put a dot there. And then if we look here at negative 1, 0, right here, right on the x-axis, there's another good point. Okay, so if we are using the slope formula, we need to get the coordinates of those points, which were negative 2, 3, and negative 1, 0, right? So if you're using that way, because you know it, like it, understand it, then I say stick to it, okay? So if we're going to label those, remember we label our x's. Okay, so if we label our x's, they're going to be x, y, x, y, and then we plug them into our formula. So remember, it's minus on top, minus on bottom. These will be my 1s, these will be my 2s. Okay, so y2 is at the top first, so we say 0 minus 3. Then at the bottom, I have a negative 1 minus a negative 2. Okay, so if I simplify this, I'm going to get negative 3 on the top. On the bottom, remember, minus minus turns into a plus right here. So negative 1 plus 2 is a positive 1. But even if I simplify this fraction, it is a negative 3 for my slope. Okay, so this next part, the rise over run part, once you have your 2 points, because my line is negative, right, I'm going to count down first. So I'm going to go down, there's my rise and my run. Okay, so if I count those spaces, right, I went down 1, 2, 3 times, so negative 3 to the right 1. So negative 3 over 1, my slope is still the same, negative 3. Okay, so go ahead and finish the rest of this pear deck. Okay, they are multiple choice. Make sure you find 2 good points first, and then either do the slope formula or do rise over run.